in order to understand your environment and be able to develop strategies, you need to do research. And so to do research is you looking at your market and you're looking at your market for changes that you can take advantage of. And so this is called the opportunities. You're looking in most of the research you may be doing is looking at the different factors that affect your company, the factors in your micro and macro environment. For at the end to be able to generate some information in order to create a SWOT analysis. So that's why you do research. But there are different methods of doing research, and there are different type of research. There's different location for looking for information. So first, the company can do research by looking at their own internal databases. How many did we sell? Who did we sell it to? When did we sell it to? What was the difference about the product? And maybe they can find that they sell more of a specific color of shirt in different seasons to different locations, and therefore that gives the company some kind of understanding of the market. That's called internal company analysis. Then you have marketing intelligence, and then you have marketing research. So where do you look for these internal records? You look at your sales, you look at the different prices that you have, you look at the changes of cost, you look at your inventories, you look at all of this in order to understand what changes you have in the market. Marketing intelligence it's like market research, but continuous. So you're not having a problem, a question to answer, is you are constantly scanning the environment for a change that may be going against you in the near future or be in your favor. And then once you find that there's some changes that are interesting, at that time you may be moving into market research where you found that there is a new opportunity, but you don't know how to exploit this opportunity. So then you go into collecting specifically some information, analyzing this information in order to come up with some solution that can be used as an opportunity for the marketing team, which will be eventually maybe using it as a strategy and developing a new strategy. So what are the steps? First, you define the problem and the research objectives. Then you think about the research plan. So what would be the best method? Should we do an interview? Should we do a questionnaire? And then you implement the method in order to collect the information and then interpret this information and then turn it into a report that can be used by the marketing people. Where do you collect information? Well, there's two main sources. There's the secondary data, which is data that already exists, which is already been published. And obviously, everyone is now, life is so much better since the internet is there because you have a huge access to information, and there's still a large number of information that is available for free. You can look also beside the internet, but to all the published information that is available as printed in the library and through magazines and so forth. Then the next one is primary data, which is that you decide that what's available, existing, secondary is not sufficient, or maybe it's too biased, or it's not recent enough, and you want to collect information yourself, and this is called primary research. So primary research, you will collect the information yourself. There are two types of data that you will collect beside the secondary and primary. There is also qualitative and quantitative. So qualitative research means that you're going to try to speak to few people, but go in depth. The idea is to understand why do they do things and try to connect this to a set of reasons. The quantitative research is you take the set of reasons that you've collected from qualitative research, and then you provide these reasons to thousands of people, hundreds of people, in order to see some kind of probability of this to be true for a certain group of people. So if you say you do a qualitative research for why people go to the gym, and you find that people go to the gym to lose weight, to stay young, and to feel healthy. So then you take those three answers that you've collected through qualitative research by asking people, and you give it to 1,000 people. And of these 1,000 people, you can have men and women and young and old and educated, uneducated, and then you're going to try to relate if maybe educated people mostly go to the gym to stay healthy versus young people mostly go to the gym to lose weight. So you try to make some connections, but the probability, statistical connections can only be done through quantitative research. So quantitative research does not tell you why people do things, that's done by qualitative research. Quantitative research gives you some statistical reassurance, evidence, in order to help you be more confident in the information that you collected from qualitative research. So they're both necessary. What's very interesting and fascinating to me is the number of people that do quantitative research without knowing qualitative research and thinking qualitative is not as important. This is very important, and it's the first step in order to do good quantitative research. When you talk about quantitative research, you talk about the probability of the samples. So there are several methods in order to look at the probability. And obviously, the probability samples is the best one because it's the one that gives you the highest level of confidence. But non-probability samples also helps you to get some level of statistical significance. It's just a lower, oftentimes lower confidence that you will get from the non-probability samples. When you do research, there's therefore like a layer from the most basic to the most complicated. And that's what this slide is talking about. Exploratory research is the easiest one, where you try to just gather information. So the first thing you do oftentimes is gather information by doing secondary data analysis, looking at existing data. This secondary data may be qualitative and quantitative. It's already been collected, and that's fine. And then at that time, you have, at the time of the exploratory research, you have the possibility of also doing qualitative research, which means that you may be interviewing some people. You may be doing some focus groups, so interviewing people together at the same time in order to get variety of views. Maybe a little bit less in depth than if you're interviewing a single person. When you interview a single person, maybe you interview someone that is a very famous customer or very known expert on the field in order to get some ideas. So getting ideas, understanding the problem, getting some kind of preliminary understanding of the cause and effect and the reason why people do things is what you do in exploratory research. In descriptive research, now you are in quantitative research, because that's what you do when you do descriptive research, is you can try to take all the reasons for doing something that you gathered from the exploratory research, from the secondary and qualitative research and all that, and give it to hundreds and large number of people in order to get some statistical analysis. And that's the descriptive research. Causal research is when you do this as an experiment and you try to see, again, through quantitative research, the cause and effect. So causal research is trying to be even more scientific in its process by experimenting cause and effect, by having multiple causes and measuring also the effect, and even having a situation where you don't apply any causes and you see if the effect changes. So this experimental analysis is oftentimes done by larger companies. It's oftentimes also done by academics. So it's the most rigorous of all the methods, and it's the one that you're less likely to be implementing yourself. The one you're most likely to implement for sure is the exploratory. That would be probably 90% or more of the time. And then 10% of the time, or a little bit less, you'll be doing this, maybe just doing descriptive research. But it's important to understand the different layers. What's the reason? And also what are the steps? Again, you know, secondary is oftentimes what you collect first. And if you don't have enough answers from secondary, then you go in primary. In primary, you collect qualitative data. And if there's not enough, then you go into quantitative data. In quantitative data, you do descriptive, which would be creating a questionnaire or measuring people's behavior by observing them through video or something like this. And then if you want to go further, then you go into experimental, where you would have some cause and effect type of causal research. We talk about causal research because we talk really about the analysis of the cause and effect. It all depends on the time you have. It all depends on the type of companies. It all depends on how important it is to minimize the risk of making the wrong decision, because there are huge investments. It depends on the resources that you have and to make which decisions. But it's very important as an individual who maybe becomes an entrepreneur, or as an individual who works for a smaller business, to understand that secondary data is extremely important. And then when you do primary data, learning about the qualitative methods is tremendous in order to make the best decision as you can within a reasonable amount of time.